I'm Reverend Phil, and I'm your host for Words of the Prophets. Where are our prophets now? Where are those messengers God chooses to communicate divine revelation through? In the past, the Creator has sent prophets like Abraham, Siddhartha, Jesus, Muhammad, and many more. Maybe our higher power has switched tactics since we reinterpret God's words as soon as the Creator's prophets leave us. Could it be that Spirit talks to each one of us individually and we haven't learned to listen? On Words of the Prophets, our modern prophets show us how to find the internal prophet that is the I Am, and we discuss the application of spiritual principles in all aspects of our lives. Love and light, everybody. I'm Reverend Phil, and I am your host for Words of the Prophets. Today, my guest is a good friend, Ivy Amar, and she is a certified Ayurvedic practitioner. I'm going to mess that word up, I promise you. She's an old Bronx girl, so she understands that I took English as a foreign language, and when you give me these Sanskrit words, we have some problems. Anyway, today's prophetic topic is a realm of awareness previously unknown. And this topic comes from a statement made by Vasant Lad, an Ayurvedic physician and the director of the Ayurvedic Institute in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The complete statement reads as follows. According to Ayurvedic principles, by understanding oneself, by identifying one's own constitution, and by recognizing sources of doshic aggravation, which we will explain a little bit later, one can not only follow the proper guidelines to cleanse, purify, and prevent disease, but also uplift oneself into a realm of awareness previously unknown. So before we get into all these explanations, welcome.
Thank you.
I know you want to talk a little, show us the picture and do a little chant. Then you'll do a little introduction of how you came to do the things we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
It's all yours.
Thank you for having me today. So I just would start with showing this picture of the Lord or God of Ayurveda, whose name is Lord Dhanvantari, and he rises up out of the ocean of consciousness and brings forth all of the materials and processes one needs to know about to maintain a happy and healthy life. So I'd like to always start with a little chant or mantra to this Lord Dhanvantari. Om Vasudevaya Vidmahe Vedya Rajaya Dhimahi Tano Dhanvantari Prachodayat Hari Om. So basically this means the sustainer of all life and creation, the greatest of Vedyas, which is the term for Ayurvedic physician. He is the original Ayurvedic physician coming from the realms of pure creation. And we honor and ask for his support in all the endeavors in our life, so we lead a happy, healthy, long, and balanced life.
Let's divert from your path just for a second. What is this name again?
Dhanvantari.
Okay, I'm not even going to try that. How does he fit into the hierarchy of what is now Hindu deities? And I know this predates that, so can you just give a little bit of understanding to that?
Well, Lord Dhanvantari is identified as the sustainer, the one that brings forth from the ocean of consciousness at the very beginning of creation, like all of the different energies or deities in the Hindu pantheon have come from this realm of pure consciousness. And so has this Lord Dhanvantari to bring forth into the creation and down through all of the levels of manifestation to the human being, all of the principles and protocols that one needs to live a long and happy life. He is the god of medicine, and that's how we identify him.
So he's the god of medicine, but he is not the originator of the practice that we're going to be talking about.
Actually, yes. He is the originator. He is the one, the energy form, the one that's identified as the entity that brought forth all of this knowledge. So
Okay.
Ayurvedic medicine is actually known as a revealed science. It's not made up from human thinking.
Okay, so he revealed it to the rishis. Is that the proper?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, they recorded it.
Yes.
Okay. So now we understand a little bit more about that. So let's get back to you then, and we'll get back to him in this whole story.
Okay.
How did you become a practitioner? What led you to this, to this path?
Well, in the 80s, in the 1980s, I was involved on a spiritual path and practice with a teacher from India, Swami Muktananda. And it was through interaction with that path that I kind of got a hint about Ayurvedic medicine, because this guru used to send people to get things to cool them down or heat them up or calm down their nervous system. And I wondered, where was he drawing this knowledge? And I discovered it was from the science of Ayurvedic medicine. And also, while I was involved in that time period with these teachings, we learned about a lot of the saints that were called siddhas, or perfected ones, that would do very unusual things, like they would be able to drink poison and nothing would happen to them, or they would never eat and they maintained their life, or all kinds of strange, phenomenon these beings demonstrated. And I always wondered, if someone can drink poison and nothing happens to them, but they've got a human body, what's going on in their physiology that's different than a regular person that would die from that, drinking poison? So I was always curious about that, and what happens in the physiology as a being raises their consciousness and awakens to greater and greater realms of conscious information, and imbibing that and embodying that higher realm of consciousness. It must change the physiology somehow. And I thought that when I came to know about Ayurveda, I thought maybe this science can explain that phenomenon. So that was the hook that got me into Ayurveda. I'm not so much preoccupied with that theme right now, but that was, we could call it the physiology of consciousness.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you ever read the autobiography of a yogi? Mm-hmm. Of course you have.
Yeah.
I just started reading this. After all these years, I finally got around to it. And I started reading it this weekend. And he goes into very explicit detail about how this is done. And if I understand him correctly, he is not so much talking about changing. The individual does not change their physiology. They change the physiology of whatever the object is, which is fascinating. So, like, it's, if I understood correctly, tell me if I'm misunderstanding it. It's like when you're saying taking poison, they don't change themselves to be able to adapt to the poison. They change the poison to something that's no longer poisonous.
That could be.
Yeah, and then the other thing you said, which was fascinating, because he has pictures in his book, and I was just leafing through looking at the pictures before I even started reading it, and there was a picture of a woman there, and I forget, it had been documented, like something like 30 or 50 years, had never taken in any food and was just living off of cosmic energy. Mm-hmm. This is fascinating stuff, and yet it's documented, yet we in the West don't even want to talk about it, want to acknowledge it. It's all like, it's not real, it's fake.
Right, it's almost beyond belief what these yogis and saints have accomplished. And there was a time in existence, you might have heard of the yugas, or these great macro time periods that go by, like that are 260,000 years, and then that's one age, like the golden age of truth. We call it Satya, which means truth, Yuga, the age of truth. then there are 3 more. And it says in the Vedic knowledge and in Ayurveda that the lifespan of a human, in the Bible they talk about beings that were 500, 400, 700 years old.
Yeah.
Well, this is very well could be the truth, because in the golden age of existence, before pollution came and before degradation of the planet started, life was here in fullness. And the lifespan, they say, in the Vedic knowledge was, these hundreds of year-long lifespans. And with each age that comes down, 100 years it diminishes by 25%. So if someone was living for 400 years, in the third age, they would live 300. In the second age, they would live 200. And now we're in what we call the Kali Yuga, or the age of darkness. And the lifespan has dropped to average about 100 years old, if you're lucky. But it's all due to increasing pollution on the planet, increasing disturbance of the mind, and how people perceive life.
Well, let's bounce around a bit. In Ayurvedic beliefs, the planet is a living entity.
Mm-hmm.
So besides the pollution, does the entity also treat us like disease organisms with all the negativity, the violence, the anger that we put out? Does that get, reacted to?
By the earth
Yes.
entity? This is a big question, because in creation, it's like the earth is the mother. The earth is what sustains all of us. And most people, especially in the West, don't have that relationship with the earth like it's your mother, Mother Earth. And the mother is nothing but love. So, this is just me speaking now. It's kind of a philosophical thing, not a proven thing, but I feel that the earth is filled with love, and all of the nature spirits and all of the entities and life forms that exist as the earth and on the earth and within the earth and around the earth are filled with love and are trying to teach us, and to teach us to be more in balance, more in harmony with all of life, because we are part and parcel of the earth. We couldn't even go through a day without the earth gifting us with water, with air, with ground to stand on. So, people don't think about that, but Ayurvedic medicine we call it the mother of all healing, because it teaches humans how to live in harmony with the macrocosm, because we understand we are only a microcosm of that macrocosm.
I want to explore that for a second. Are the beliefs of Ayurvedic that on a grander level the universe is put together the same way as a human body is? Is that what you're saying?
Well, let's reverse it. The human body is a reflection of the greater creation. Absolutely, and this is not a belief, this is actually ancient science. So Ayurveda means the science of life. And so we understand, well, one thing I'd like to say is the difference between this Eastern approach of Ayurvedic medicine or any original indigenous kind of, paradigm on healing and creation is different than what the West has developed. The West has developed medicine more, or healing more, based in a laboratory-based. Ayurveda is life-based. It comes from the observation of these rishis or seers or ancient enlightened beings who observed Mother Earth, who observed the workings of the 5 elements and their attributes and qualities, and how it happens in nature. It happens exactly the same within the human being. So if you want me to explain more about that, I can, just as an example.
We will. Well, let's. You keep bringing more questions to mind for me. So let's go back to the very beginning, the gentleman in the picture, the deity in the picture. How old, what age is this, the origins of Ayurvedic attributed to?
Well, the common figure is 5,000 years on the planet, and even more. There's more evidence always coming out as technology improves to date different texts and things that have been existing on the earth. But we say in general 5,000 years.
So how deep are we into the age of Kali?
I don't really know the exact answer to that,
But
but
it's
it
more than-
feels like it's coming to some kind of culmination, don't you think? It's
I would
like
hope
how
so.
it's getting very intense.
So I guess my question then becomes, and maybe it's not a question that's answerable, do the deities and the information they reveal keep repeating itself through each of the ages? So this is
Yes.
information that was there another age and we lost it and came back again?
Absolutely. This is why I think there's a big revival towards Ayurvedic medicine now, and all natural forms of healing, because humanity has to return to what is wholesome. People live such an unnatural life these days that so many illnesses are coming because of wrong contact with things and practices and habits. And this leads to a very dark experience. And so Ayurveda is here to serve humanity, to bring back this knowledge again. And it was the original reason also why Ayurveda came forth, because as the ages started to diminish, disease started to come on the planet among humanity. And the sages saw that this was true. And so the mythology, if you will, in the ancient Ayurvedic texts is that the sages came together and went to the celestial realms and discussed and had symposiums with these deities like Indra and Varuna and all of these great beings that live in the non-physical realm, and said, look, humanity is falling, disease is coming, wrong use of the senses, wrong use of the mind is coming in and creating imbalances. Give us knowledge we can bring back to the human realm, back to the earth plane, to help prevent disease and help cure that which has already been manifesting. So this is kind of the beginning.
How does this tie in, if at all, to the cycle of ages?
You mean from the golden age, the age of truth, and down through?
Well, my understanding, it's a aspect of Himalayan science that we on this planet are on a 24,000 plus year cycle through our galaxy. And it also has 4 ages descending and then ascending. Well, there's 3 ascending and descending and 1 just at the bottom. But it's gold, silver, bronze, and lead. And as we get further away from the center of the galaxy, we get dumber, so to speak, as inhabitants on the planet.
Yeah.
And then as we start to get closer again, we start to get smarter.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about 5,000, at least 5,000 years, this starts to place this knowledge into the waning part of our smartness. It's like it was left over and we started losing contact. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I don't know if that ties in or not. I'm just curious.
Right. Well, it totally ties in, because we're all living in this oneness of this big soup mix of photon energy, of time. We call it kala. The passage of time is actually something that brings disease or imbalance to a person. And so we're always at the effect of all the forces. So it all affects how we live our life. But I would also, something that I've come to understand is, for example, this Lord Dhanvantari, or these great truths, or these great moments of supreme peace and bliss and health that a person can experience. We can create within our own being our own golden age any moment we want to, because there's only infinite consciousness. So all of this is always available with every breath that we take. It depends on how we're using this and where our our passion is, where our focus wants to be in this lifespan that we have. It says in the Vedas to have a human birth is the most rare experience. Don't waste it. So what are we doing with this life? What are we doing with our day in and our day out? We watch TV, we go here, we go there, but how many people really focus on their own evolution and how to live that balanced life? Why? To be of service to the rest of the creation. It's all about showing up. You can say.
So the basis of the science of life is that if I don't harm me, I won't harm anything around me.
Absolutely. I've always said, when we see these horrific destructive acts that are going on, the mountaintop mining, the destruction of the earth, and just the brazen nerve of, corporations to assault the earth like they're doing. What kind of person can agree to that? Only a person that doesn't understand their connectivity to life. Only a person that's living in some kind of separation, in some kind of illusion, can only perform that kind of violence. But when you understand that you're connected, I'm you, you are me. I mean, we have the illusion of these bodies, but otherwise, we breathe the same air, everything. So how could I ever think of hurting another life form?
So let's dwell on this for a second. How do I want to say this? Ayurvedic is a understanding. It's a spiritual practice and it's a belief based on practice, but it's not a religion.
Ayurveda is definitely not a religion. It is not Hinduism, Sikhism, or any of the religions of the East. It's Vedic science, which is very different, and it's not a belief. It's a science based on observation of how life manifests. And it's universal. I mean, even though it takes birth from the Himalayas and India and so forth during those ancient days, it's really for the whole planet. Why? Because the principles involved in the science of Ayurveda hold true for Americans, Europeans, Asians, Indians. If you have a human body. If you have a human body and you're breathing air.
Yeah, exactly.
This science can be of service,
So basically, I think I've touched on this in some other shows. Let's see if we can do a little bit more touching, so to speak. The Himalayan science was a ancient practice. I mean, it's a scientific practice that, like you said, it studied the human body. It studied the mind. That's where we came up with the concept of karma. Mm-hmm. All of this was around in the Himalayas. Any idea why? I mean, why that area?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. But I don't know, because we don't really know what has been on this earth prior to even the beginning of history as we know it. There might have been greater and greater civilizations. There might have been visitations, bringing extraordinary knowledge. We don't know. But I know the Himalayas was a very pure field of environment. In other words, the higher you go up, the more subtle and refined the atmosphere becomes. Means that it has an effect on the way the mind works. It might be easier in those higher mountain realms that are solitude, quiet, serenity, awesome beauty, to connect with higher principles, higher observations, higher states of meditation. So it might be that the human yogis that were there that brought all this knowledge, they had greater access to knowledge that sits in the morphogenetic field, you can say, or the quantum field that holds everything, the field of absolute. energy and consciousness. I don't know. That's just me talking.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I mean, my understanding of it was that there were these, and there still are to some extent, pockets of masters, yogis, gurus, whatever phrase we want to use, who are still there practicing meditation, practicing yoga, training students in that practice and passing on that knowledge. And it's been going on, you're talking 5,000 years, and some of the reading and studying I've done puts it even more like 10,000 years, and
I would agree with you. I think it goes back much further. I think that 5,000-year-old figure is more associated with known writings and texts rather than the existence of the knowledge, because in the beginning it's only an oral tradition passed on from guru to disciple with verses. The whole of Ayurveda is like a poem. And when you're in Ayurvedic college in India, for example, you learn these sutras or these threads, these little verses that are like poetry that contain within them a whole volume of knowledge when you break it down, and then you can expound on each one. So this is how it originally was passed from guru to disciple. Then finally began writing down. So who knows how far back that goes. This was a gift at the beginning of creation. It's like our driver's manual. How to be a good human, a healthy human, a long-lived human. And the thing with Ayurveda is it's very much a preventive system. Unlike other healing systems that are disease-oriented,
Western medicine is basically
it's symptomatic treatment. Yeah, very fragmented in the laboratory. Let's isolate this, without considering what conditioning was there in that person, what concepts went into their consciousness that they're acting out.
I know. Sometimes I watch TV and they have these medications on television, and it's like, well, this will take care of this problem, but here are the potential side effects, and I mean, the side effects are worse than the problem that you're dealing with.
It's totally amazing.
It's scary, I mean, I don't want to go there right now, but so let's back up now. We've gone all over the spectrum here. So you got kind of attracted to this whole concept, and you've been practicing it now for how long?
Since 1988.
Do you run into flack from Western practitioners or medical associations? I mean, has anybody come after you and said you can't do this stuff?
No.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
At least is that like a hands-off policy that they just don't get into, or?
No, I think Ayurveda is gaining a very good reputation now because people are. I mean, nothing against Western medicine. I have been treated by Western medicine with much gratitude in my life. So there's a place for everything, but on a general scale of maintaining your health, I think people are more waking up now to what can I do to maintain health and prevent disease. And this is where Chinese medicine is a wonderful thing, Ayurvedic medicine, these natural forms of treatment and preventive applications are very important now, because medicines, like you just said, there's always a payback.
Do you have a working Ayurvedic definition of health?
Basically, in Ayurveda, we say a person who is happy, who is healthy, who can discriminate in their life what is good for them and what is bad for them, what activities are good and wholesome, which are detrimental. A person who's, well, I'm going Sanskrit on you now, whose doshas, dhatus, and malas are in balance.
You want to define those
terms? Has what we call swasthya is the word for health, good health. So dosha, dhatu, mala, these are three key terms in Ayurveda. Doshas, many people have heard of this. It's not the South Indian big pancake with the potato filling. That's a dosa. So we're talking about
Okay.
doshas. And dosha actually means fault in the body. But let's just put that aside for a second. The doshas are the biological organizations of the 5 elements in the human physiology. So most people might know that we have 5 cosmic elements that all creation is made of: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. There's nothing right here that is not made up of these 5 elements.
Talk
Okay.
about the ether, because I mean, for you it's a natural concept for 5 elements.
Yes.
Most people think of 4.
Yeah.
That ether is not one of them. Or, I mean, even Western astrology only recognizes 4 elements. So, I mean, can you elaborate on ether and
Yeah.
a little
Ether
bit
we
more?
call Akash. It's the cosmic space. It's the field that contains everything. It's maybe hard to conceptualize because we don't smell it or we don't have a picture of it, because it's the empty space. But without space, nothing can exist within creation, within manifestation. So, for example, you have a gastrointestinal tract, right? From
If you say so.
It's the big tube from your mouth to the other end.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of little switchbacks in it, but there's space in that tract. And it
Okay.
allows things to move through. It's not just 2 membranes plastered. There's
Okay.
something there that holds a vessel.
So all of existence that is not one of the other 4 elements is ether. No, that ether is even within those elements.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything in creation really has all 5 elements, but it depends on what that object is and what predominance of element is existing. So, for example, in this glass of water, the container is more earth-based.
Okay.
What's in here, the water, is water element.
Okay.
It's matter, but it's movable liquid matter that has no shape to it except for the earth container that's holding it. So,
And do each one of those, the earth container and the water that it contains, have like ether in the spaces between the molecules, so to speak?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Every cell membrane that has porosity in the membrane, where things can go in and out,
Okay.
that little microchannel is etheric space. When you have an operation and when they used to give you ether, your consciousness would go into an etheric space, huh? So, like that.
Okay. So back on track, I interrupted you.
Oh, okay. So back to the body,
Yeah.
these doshas. So these 5 elements combine in certain biological combinations. So air and ether, the 2 most refined, combine into a dosha, an activity in the body we call vata, V-A-T-A. Vata is the force of movement in the body. Just like the air moves clouds and seeds and dust and everything in the environment, also in the body, it's like, I call it like the little trucking system. It's the force of energy that moves everything. Even like how I'm going like this, I couldn't do if it weren't for air and ether. There's some impulsion that's coming in my muscles that wants to make me move, or speak, or a thought come up.
Okay.
This kind of thing. And then we have fire and water combine into a dosha called pitta. Pitta is the power of conversion or transformation in the physiology. So without pitta, we couldn't digest food. We couldn't metabolize. We couldn't take like what we had for breakfast and transform it into some usable material that can feed the rest of the body. The power that breaks all of that down and converts it is the force of this this fire and water we call pitta. And then we have earth and water, which is the heavier dosha. It's called kapha. And that's responsible for all of the stability in the body and the lubrication and the coolness of the body. So it's like your cerebral spinal fluid. It's like the synovial fluid in the joints. It's like the lymphatic fluid that holds everything and keeps everything stable. and lubricated. Mucous membranes are like this kapha. So this, I think you might be interested to see how this microcosm in our body is the same as what happens in nature. So we have the winds that blow everything. And you see how, you know, Camel Rock out in Espanola? Yeah. So all of these formations have come from the wind blowing and moving, drying out, cracking the earth. So same in the physical body, if a person has an exceptional amount of this vata, this air principle in the body, their skin might tend to be cracked, the skin is dry, the hair is brittle, the joints are popping and getting dry, there might be constipation, which is a dry condition of the bowel. So it's a science of attributes. As above, so below.
So, as a practitioner, as a student, you learn to diagnose the deficiencies that cause the conditions, and then how do we get water back into the body, or how do we get fire back into the body, or as opposed to just alleviating the symptom that, you know, like Western medicine would do. Or let's put a cream to get rid of the rash. It would be, the body might still have the deficiency, we've just alleviated the symptom here.
Right.
So you would then guide somebody to do what in order to, let's say, I mean, you're not going to light a fire and sit on it. So, I mean, how do we get more, like, for instance, more fire in the body?
Right. Well, you have to, you know, use the principles of physiology to help or treat the physiology. So if a person has these symptoms of high vata, where there's cracking skin and constipation and clicking joints and all of this, we say that this Ayurveda is a science of attributes. What are attributes? They're characteristics, they're descriptors of these elements. So we look at air and we go, is air mobile or is it stable? It's mobile. It goes all over, right? Is it dry or is it wet? Air is dry. Is it hot or is it cool? Air is cool. So for example, let's just work with those three things. If we have cool, dry, and rough attributes, we want to apply the opposite attributes in our treatment. So what's the opposite of cool? Warm. What's the opposite of dry? Oily or lubricating. Like this. So we would recommend to that person, for example, have a little more good oil and fat, avocados, whatever, in your diet. Try herbal oil massage on the skin to bring more lubrication. Don't eat popcorn with hot spices, because this is very drying to the whole physiology. You know, if you think of popcorn versus olive oil, which is going to be better for that physiology?
So you're talking about changing, almost to a point, lifestyle changes as opposed to just a temporary corrective measure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So once a person is dry, that's their natural state of being, is what if I'm hearing you correctly. So it's not about a temporary fix, it's about we change our lifestyle so that we do the things that make us moist, so to speak.
Okay, so now you've hit the key point of the science of Ayurveda when it comes to treating human beings, which is understanding your own unique nature, your own unique constitution. So this word dosha again, everyone is born with a certain constitution, hopefully balanced at birth. So people that are born usually have a predominance of either the air principle, the fire principle, or the earth and water principle, this vata, this pitta, or this kapha. And when you understand what your constitution is, then you can appropriately choose the lifestyle themes and foods and colors in your life. And we work with everything in life can be medicine. So to balance that out.
So dosha is a aspect of karma?
Well, it could be, I guess, but that I think is beyond my realm.
Okay.
But doshas, your constitution, it's called prakruti, your original nature. Your original nature is set at conception from mother and father. When that union takes place and that seed is formed, then and there is the setting of your constitution. And then the fetus grows with certain attributes, with certain tendencies, with certain shape and form. And then the non-physical aspects are brought in through the pregnancy of the personality, the soul path, all of these things go in. So with that, maybe you should have a Vedic astrologer on your show to talk more about that.
So that's a separate science, so to speak.
Yeah, there are, Vedic astrologers, or Jyotish astrologers is called. They might be able to look more deeply into that for the individual tendency on that.
I haven't touched on it, but it would seem like it would kind of tie in. Is yogic practices a part of the Ayurvedic practice itself? Is that a subset of it?
I wouldn't say part of or we call them sister sciences. The path of yoga is complete in itself and includes Ayurvedic knowledge, and Ayurvedic knowledge also includes yogic principles. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
There are ancient texts of yoga, like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika is called. It's a very old text where they describe all of the yoga asanas, or the postures, and how they can cure different diseases that are described in Ayurveda due to an increase of wind, bile, and phlegm, which is the Western way of saying Vata, Pitta, and Kapha.
Okay.
So they dovetail. It's all ancient knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. I'm trying to see how they kind of...
They do work together,
interact,
absolutely.
yeah.
And there are brilliant people that are writing books now and bringing these synthesized, themes together. They're synthesizing and showing how both can really work together in a significant way. So
It would seem to be, yeah. So one of the things you and I had talked about was the 4 goals of life. You want to touch on that?
yes, the 4 goals of life in Sanskrit language is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So dharma, many people have heard this word, dharma. Dharma means your path. What is your right work on this path in this lifetime? For me, it's Ayurveda is my dharma. I talk about it, I practice it, I share it, I live it, So this is my dharma. It's what I came here to do at this point in my life. Artha means wealth. So we want to have right livelihood, right occupation, right activity in our life with dharma, and we also want to have abundance. We want to have all the things that we need to perform our dharma correctly without living in hardship. Okay, so we want a certain degree of abundance in our life, this wealth of... It doesn't have to be money. It could be home. It could be family, animals, medicines, all kinds of things.
Okay.
Then we have kama, means pleasure, means fulfillment. Not only, the Kama Sutras people have heard of. This is about, the sexual fulfillment. But kama means having that delight in your life on a daily basis. It can come from a good meal. It can come from watching a concert or going for a walk in nature. So to have this feeling of pleasure and happiness in our life. So these are the first 3 goals of life.
Okay.
Dharma, right livelihood, wealth and abundance, and a delightfulness in our life. But why do we want all of that? Which leads to the 4th, which is moksha. Moksha means liberation. It's kind of a cosmic joke in a way. We want to get all of those first 3 things together and be happy. So why? So then we can get so unattached to it that we're happy no matter what's going on. You know, we're happy in an unattached state, knowing our true wealth is our recognition that we are all of that. And we always have been that, and we always will be all of that with a capital T, meaning cosmic energy, cosmic nature, God force. You know, that bliss, that state of connectedness.
I like that word, bliss.
Yeah.
We're going to start running down on time soon. I want to go back to one of our original topics, which is the living organism, the earth. Let's see if I can pronounce this. Agnihotra?
Agnihotra.
I was getting close. You want to explain that, what that is, and how it ties into all of this?
Agni means fire, and Hotra means offering. So Agnihotra means a fire offering, or sacrifice, or oblation, a giving to the fire. So why are we talking about this? Because this is a practice that's called a ritual or a rite. And if we think about that word, rite, ritual, it's not hocus pocus. It's an activity that brings righteousness, or brings the right activity into our experience for the betterment of all of life. It's a rite. It's the thing to do to stay in harmony. So there's a practice, a Vedic scientific practice called Agnihotra, and it is I'll give you the textbook definition. It's purification. The result of this practice, which is a fire ritual, is the purification of the atmosphere through the agency of fire, based on the biorhythms of sunrise and sunset. So Agnihotra is a performance of a very small and simple fire ceremony that's performed in a pure copper pyramid. You can see the shape. This is an absolutely specific dimension and shape of pure copper, which is a tremendous conductor of energy. And we burn organic materials in this exactly to the second at sunrise and sunset, and offer some little rice with ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, with a mantra exactly at that timing. And it has an amazing super bioenergetic effect on the whole atmospheric environment and the earth and the person performing it and anything and anyone in that field. So Agnihotra, my teacher would say, this is the ancient form of Ayurveda, that if people would understand their oneness, that they are a microcosm of the greater macrocosm, you can't stay healthy if the environment is polluted, if it's filled with stress and disturbance. And right now on our planet, that's pretty much all there is. So we are bringing back this practice of Agnihotra to purify the atmosphere so that the plants can grow right, so the soil can be healthy, so our food can be right, so we can stay healthy, so that our herbs and medicines that we take and make are potent, because right now everything is losing value. Food isn't even food anymore. So there's so much I could say about this.
We're going to keep going with this. I want to back up on, you said biorhythms of
sunrise and
sunset. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes.
I mean, are you saying that the human body is tied into those specific times?
Absolutely.
As the planet is to
absolutely.
Those specific times.
All life is tied into all phenomenon.
Yes.
So we call this the circadian rhythm, the sunrise and sunset. It's the first cycle that we pay attention to when we're performing Agnihotra. All indigenous cultures have something to say about sunrise and sunset as a magical time, a nexus point between the worlds, an access point. And we know from Ayurveda that the nervous system goes through quite a change exactly at sunrise and sunset. The breathing changes. We have a subtle anatomy that is overlaid with the physical anatomy. And these ancient sages knew how the the flow of prana or life force moves through this subtle anatomy. So exactly at sunrise is a great opportunity to come in contact with higher forces and to apply any healing approach. It will be magnified. So it's like we have this energy grid of the earth. When we perform something like Agnihotra, we're infusing into that timing. It's a tremendous thrust of healing energy, allowing a lot of energy to happen. So what happens when we're burning this fire, there's a column of energy that goes up into the upper regions of the biosphere. And the rays of the sun are connected with this. And this is like a channel of love or energy where nutrients from the solar range come down and are attracted through resonance, bioresonance, to the shape of this pot and this fire, comes down to that particular place and floods the whole environment with nutrition. And exactly at sunrise and sunset, we know that the plant's circulatory system, hormonal system, our same systems, open up to receive certain kinds of energies and nutrition. And when we perform Agnihotra, we are receiving that. So everything becomes healed.
If we were to sustain or maintain the proportion and make a huger pot, would we have bigger healing?
No.
Okay.
Not necessary, no.
So it's just something that small.
This was revived, actually, even though it's an ancient practice, it's been revived since the 40s for the masses to begin practicing this, because these techniques, were only held in secret originally for the priests, for certain people that keep some strict disciplines in their life with food and dress and bathing and things like that. But this Agnihotra that we practice is meant for all householders, men, women, children. I've even seen in India little 3-year-olds performing Agnihotra, and it has tremendous effect.
Okay, I can go on forever, but we can't. Want to make a couple announcements. Before I make my announcements, you have an announcement about an Ayurveda cooking class.
Yeah, I'm going to be teaching an Ayurvedic cooking class on November 13th and November 20th, 2 Saturdays. And it will be on the basics of Ayurvedic cooking, how to understand that original constitution we call your Prakruti. Who are you, and what foods and spices and things you can do in your life to help maintain health through your food.
Okay.
Yeah. And
the phone number and contact information has been flashing on the screen. If you have missed it, my information rolls at the end of the show. Contact me and I'll be happy to put you in touch with Ivy. I got a couple quick announcements, so we'll come back with a parting thought. Got a question I want to ask on that parting thought. Okay. First off, just to let everybody know, this is public access television, and you are the public, so we'd love to hear from you. Comments for or against, just be gentle. Don't have to get nasty. If there's a show you'd like to see me, a topic you'd like to see me do for a show, I'd love to hear from you. Also, I am looking for, and I put this out almost every week, I am looking for somebody who is an Edgar Cayce fan, disciple, student, whatever you want to call yourself, to do a show with me on Edgar Cayce. I am a spiritual counselor. I do counseling based upon healing the spirit, heals the issues that underline our mental health, so to speak. So if you think that might be something I could help you with, I work on a donation basis. Contact me. We'll set up an appointment, get together. We can talk a little bit more in depth about what I do and how I do it. Next week, my guest is Don Bocage. We're going to talk about Native American, and even beyond that. When I say beyond that, I mean I'm talking about the origins of the spiritual practices that are now on the planet that are called Native American and where they come from. And you'll see a lot of similarities to what Ivy and I have talked about here. So tune in for that. Okay, my question to you, the statement we took as a topic, a realm of awareness previously unknown. Is it safe to say what we've been talking about, that realm of awareness is the oneness of all of us?
Yes. Yes.
So that's the message we're here to put out.
Yes, that one should know that for oneself, who they are, know thyself. So Ayurveda can provide the guidance to take these steps to understand who we are physiologically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
And who we are is more than just what we are containing within the flesh and bones of our body. It's that connectivity that makes us one with the planet, one with the plants, yes, one with the elements around us.
And our health or disease is correlated exactly to our recognition and cognition of our relationship with Source. Mm-hmm.
And disease then is when we are disconnected from any one aspect or all of those aspects.
Yes, yes.
So the realm of awareness previously unknown is we are all one. So in to borrow one of the gospel statements, that which you do to the least of me, you do to me. And that is the message. Wow. I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This was so wonderful. I hope the rest of you watching this show found it as enlightening as I did. I got 30 seconds. You got a parting thought?
Well,
put you on the spot.
Oh, no. I just appreciate being able to speak about this great science, Ayurveda, and I encourage people to check it out. There are so many books out now. Give me a call. If anyone has questions, I'm totally available and very happy.
So if you didn't catch Ivy's information, contact me. I'll be happy to give it to you. Talk to her. Change your life. So until we do this again next week, you've been hearing this at the end of every show now for as long as I've been on the air. You are one with everything. You're one with Spirit, God, Creator, whatever you want to call it, however you want to name it. Names don't matter. They're just brand names. Honor that connection. Demonstrate that connection. Reach out and help others. Serve others. Don't sacrifice yourself, but serve others. Create a world that you'll be happy to live in. So until then, walk in love and light, and blessings to you all. I'm Reverend Phil, and I've been your host for Words of the Prophets. Thank you for tuning in. Please join me again next week, same time, same channel, for more Words of the Prophets.